So that's us recording. That's brilliant. So welcome to our virtual CHS Careers interview, and thank you ever so much for giving up your time. I'm sure you must be very busy with all the things at home, Emma. And can you talk to us about where you are now and how you got there?
Yeah, of course. So my current role is I am a IT director within the Home Office. The Home Office is one of the top 5 in terms of size government departments, responsible for a wide range of different things in government terms. The motto of the Home Office is to keep the country safe.
Yeah.
And when it says that, it's with reference to, so we're largely involved in borders and immigration. So to put that in a real context, if you are travelling into the country, you would obviously come through a port or an airport, and you would pass a border force officer, which is one of the first places that you might actually become involved as a person with the Home Office. Likewise, we issue all passports. If you are coming from overseas to live here, work, study, all the visa routes are the responsibility of the Home Office. Likewise, if you stay when you don't have permission to stay in the UK any longer, we're responsible for trying to kind of return you to your home country in the nicest sense of the word. Likewise, the other side of the Home Office is very much, is very topical in fact, but it's policing. It is in the space of counter-terrorism, so very much at the forefront of keeping the country safe. So the remit of the Home Office is huge.
And really important at the moment, my goodness.
Yeah, hugely. It's been an interesting, in fairness, it's been an interesting few years. I've been there 4.5 years, and over that time we've had, 3 general elections, obviously EU exit, which is still very much a thing, and now COVID-19. There's every day has a new set of interesting challenges to overcome, shall I say. We're also very often front page news. So we are one of those government departments who can provoke a newspaper headline very easily, which makes it fascinating. Although equally, some days you're like, well, it'd be quite nice just to not be front news. So my role at the Home Office, I'm an IT director, so I work directly in it's actually called Digital Data and Technology, as opposed to just core IT or technology. I work in what is the borders and immigration space. So the space that I work in, there are circa 1,000 of us, and it's myself and then 5 other senior leaders kind of overseeing that, and we are responsible for the delivery of all technology that will support our borders and immigration systems. So if you are applying for a visa to come to the UK, that will go through one of our IT systems. Obviously at the moment a lot of the work is focused on changes that are needed to support the exit from Europe at the end of the year, so the end of the transition period, which are vast, but we're also seeing it as an opportunity to reshape our immigration system and the way it works. It's outdated, it's complex, the systems are old, a bit creaky. So actually, whilst it's an interesting period, it provides real opportunity for us as a country. And more latterly, just in the last few weeks, in support of the response to COVID-19, the much talked about passenger locator form, which is the thing you have to fill in if you want to come to the UK to say where we are. We've delivered that as a department. So that's just an example of something very real and very out there at the moment.
Did you come to the Home Office because you were in IT and then that led you there?
No. So I come from a non-IT background. So I worked for the first 15 years of my career. So I finished A-levels, I went travelling for a year, wasn't sure what I wanted to do at university. So went and worked in a completely different sector, but it was the early days of e-commerce or the internet. So it's early 2000s, giving my age away. So I found myself in an e-commerce world, but very much in a customer management, contact center, operational role, and kind of moved through the ranks, so to speak, largely through hard work. I loved it. I enjoyed the sector I worked in. And it was fascinating. But because I'd been there from the outset in sort of internet, e-commerce, IT, I knew a lot about systems. I grew up with them, so to speak. So when I left the company I was with after 14 years, I had the opportunity to do something very different. And I spent a couple of years working within what's the third sector, so social housing, or the housing sector, in a role which straddled customer service and IT, so it leveraged the two parts of my world. And then I left there after only a couple of years and joined the Home Office in what is now actually a core IT role. However, my role within the function I work in actually is much more about what I would call engagement or customer engagement with the people within the Home Office, but also with external customers. So trying to work out what it is they need or want from IT that will make their customer experience quicker, better, cheaper, wherever it may be. As opposed to having what I would call a core IT role. I can't build systems personally, I can't code, but I can understand it, and therefore I can translate it in kind of real people terms. I'm not hugely techy, but I get it.
What were the skills then that took you along that journey? If it wasn't a technical thing where you learned about building computers, what were those skills?
I think so key, certainly throughout my career and into where I am now, has been a lot about relationship building, sort of being able to understand and break down ideas and concepts and some quite complicated information very quickly. So listening and hearing, I know it sounds a bit ridiculous, but not just paying lip service to listening, actually listening and then questioning. I think a big thing for me, especially when I moved to the Home Office, because it was also new, was not being afraid to challenge or ask questions, however stupid they may sound. There are no stupid questions.
No, that's true.
If it's not making sense to you, then it's highly likely it's not making sense to other people in the room as well. So somebody needs to understand what is going on.
And it's having the courage to ask that question.
Yes, it is. And I think especially in the environment I currently work in, which a lot of people have been there a long time, it's the civil service. People work in the civil service all their lives. So, you know, a lot of people do know each other very well. They have those inbuilt relationships. Government is complex. It's got rules and regulations and policies, and you know, you can apply it in a school context. You know how challenging some of these things are. And I think for me, coming into that, you know, completely fresh to it, actually not being afraid to ask questions and potentially looking stupid, playing the newbie card quite a lot for about 2 years. I'm new. It's fine. It works every time. But I think throughout my career, the ability to go and make the effort to build the relationships with co-workers, with colleagues, but also to try and understand how it works at all of the different levels. I've been lucky. I've done very well. I've worked hard. I've reached quite a senior position in government now, which is amazing. But I did start, you know, I started on the shop floor, so to speak. So I've worked my own way through, but I think at all stages, I've been really keen to make sure I still understand what is going on at all of the various levels. I really struggle otherwise.
It's that mindset, isn't it, of wanting to get on with people and understand what their life is like that helps you build those. And that's a fascinating thing, Emma, because when we do things in school, that students might say, why am I doing PE? I'm never going to work in PE. So actually it's not about PE, it's about the skills you learn, working together, the teams, all those relationships.
Absolutely. It is that age old, isn't it? You know, I never thought I'd use a lot of the maths I did at school until recently. But apparently it turns out it's quite important.
Well, there you go.
But again, I think that goes to that broader understanding of how things work. You don't necessarily, I'm not a specialist in any one thing. You know, I would, what the Home Office would describe as a generalist, which can sometimes be viewed quite negatively. I think certainly within government at the moment, they're quite keen to put people in very clear professions. So you would be a technical architect or a business analyst or a frontline border force officer, or there's 30,000 people at the Home Office. There is a raft of things that you can do. A policy advisor, whatever it may be. I sit very firmly in what would be called a generalist camp. I'm none of those things per se, because I've come to a slightly more varied career mix. That's, as far as I think that's great. You need generalists as well as specialists to actually make it all go round.
And it's hard, isn't it? Because if you're a year 8 student looking ahead, you want an easy label. You want to say, I'm going to be a such and such. That makes your life, because you know what options to take, you know what to do after school. But actually, most of us end up in jobs later on that we would never have dreamed of doing. What you're showing is that can be exciting and fascinating. I mean, you seem inspired by what you do.
Yeah, I love what I do. And I think that is kind of one of those areas where I have been very lucky over the time I've been working. Opportunity, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you seek opportunity, and opportunity will find you if you're in the kind of right space. And I've always been a real advocate of that as well. Enjoy what you're doing, and work as hard as you can at what you're doing, and opportunity will find you.
Yes. And thank you for saying that, because I think if you don't have a career path that's set out by the time you're 12 or 13 or 14, you feel as though you're a failure. But actually, it's about working hard, being available, being there, being present, and doing the best you can, and things will happen.
I'm a firm believer of that. And also make sure that you don't forget people along that journey as well. That sounds a bit self-centered.
No.
People, it's funny where people suddenly crop up in your life and you think you might never ever see again. Suddenly they're there.
It's that mindset, though, isn't it, that you're positive about the people around you as well as about yourself. And I would like to think that as a school, that's something we really work on. Is you've got to take advantage of the opportunities. But if you're not a positive, hardworking person, they're not going to come your way.
No, they're not. That would be my view as well. But I also think, don't be afraid to explore slightly different areas and new opportunities, because change can be scary, can't it? If somebody said to me 8 years ago, probably you would have a role in a very large IT function dealing with some pretty spectacular IT deliveries, I'd have laughed, in all fairness. I said I would never go after that type of thing. But it's funny how things can pan out in that space.
And it's because you've got a mindset of, I'm going to do the best I can, and the opportunities will come along. Emma, thank you ever so much for talking us through that. It's fascinating how people get from a position, and you're in the embodiment of, you could never have predicted you would end up where you are, but also the embodiment of being positive about it and enjoying it. It's great when you interview people who obviously love what they do. And thank you ever so much. It's just been so interesting talking to you, and we'd love to welcome you into school at some point to come and talk to some of the students and allow them to ask you questions, because I think they'd be really interested in what it feels like. Oh, that's great. Well, I will be in touch when the school is open, as soon as we possibly can. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can have another chat. Thank you.